And first, what does this mean to you, the word courage? What do you think of if somebody says this word to you?
So just what, for me, it's kind of like to be brave. Yeah, brave and connected with fear. Just you have to face some problems, with some tough situations, and so you have to be brave, and so you have to, brave. That's for me. That's too easy to explain.
Yes. Okay, good. To be brave. Yes, that's right. I think they are synonymous. Okay. Any other comments?
I think that I have the same opinion because brave or courage for me is to be courage against when or life throws in our lives. You try to be brave and you try to overwhelm all difficulties and to live your life, to receive good things and good results. And if it's not, sometimes it's not good results every day, but you have your positive experience and you make your opinions from that.
Okay, thank you very much, Larissa. Andreas?
Yeah, for me, it's connected to daily life, to daily challenges. Because if you're lacking any courage, you won't step out of your house and enter the street. And yeah, it's also connected to self-esteem and positive thinking, I guess, because if you have to be brave to dare any things you do, to speak up in a group. You don't know what the result is. Maybe you might be offended. I think there are different levels of courage, of course, and different things you might fear. But in general, I think courage is the backbone of a healthy society. That not everybody digests silently what others say, but to bring in your opinion. And I think this is also connected to courage.
Yes, right. Sometimes you might need courage just to speak out. Okay, yes, as Mark Twain said, courage, he observed that courage is resilience to fear, mastery of fear, but not absence of fear. Some people might think that courage is just not being afraid. Those who are not afraid are courageous. But sometimes it's acting even when you are afraid, or doing what you know is right, or what you should do, maybe what you really want to do, but there's an element of fear in there. It's something difficult, something challenging.
Yes, for me, I totally agree with Mark Twain because in this case, courage is a good habit. This is a good habit of overwhelming your fear. And this is like a psychological training to avoid fear when you do something which was difficult for you at the beginning.
Right, yes, well said. Good point.
Yes, because courage doesn't mean that you will succeed, but that you try to succeed. And there are the two possibilities. You will achieve your goal or you won't. So you probably will be afraid of not gaining what you wanted to achieve. So I think it's connected to each other, fear and courage. But
Yes.
without courage, you can't get the success because you won't try it out.
Yes, right. It might be the fear of failure that you have, or other fear could be embarrassment, humiliation. Maybe we're afraid of different things. Yes, Natalia, what do you
Yes,
agree with Mark Twain?
I would like to say that we are not born with this skill, just to be courageous. That we can develop or cultivate this skill in ourselves, so that circumstances and situations could help us, and so we can develop, we can try, we can do small steps. Yes, and in this way we can be better and just courageous and brave. And of course, it's not the absence, I agree, not the absence of the fear at all, because we have to be, it's kind of our natural and physical necessity to protect ourselves, to protect our kids. And just in this way we have this fear. It's impossible not to have to be fearless, absolute fearless.
Okay, yes, good point. So then let's see. Do you consider it to be a virtue? Courage is considered as one of the virtues. Why is it considered to be a virtue? Do you agree that it should be? Maybe I should.
Guys, I think that it's a very controversial question, because on the one hand, it's courage, this is a bravery, it's the same, and in different cases you choose your way to do the things, and in one case you want to be courage, but in other ways you live your ordinary life. And why it is a virtue? It is sometimes a virtue because in many cases you not act on impulse. You do it according to, in the name of truth, in name of win, for good things of many peoples. And if you took this way, if you don't think twice about yourself, about consequences for yourself, but you do good things, good points for many people, this is a virtue. In other cases, this is also impulse, and this is a courage.
So this is courage. You think maybe courage, there can be false courage? Or it depends on where and how people show their courage?
Okay, I'm ready to give an example. 2 years ago, possibly, one Russian pilot, it's an ordinary pilot, he had problems with one of engine in his plans, and he made a decision to landing up at the field of cornflakes, and he saved lives more than 200 peoples. Of course, he did all his best, and he have not possibility to think twice. But he chose his way. Of course, he had a wife, he had his own babies, but he was not sure at the positive results of his actions. But he made all his best, and now he's a hero in Russia.
Right. Yes. And what choice did he have, really? Was he?
Of course, he could destroy the plane, and the funerals, more than 200 people, will be quickly than if he don't. I don't know. I have problems how to say it, but I think that he had only one way to landing at this cornflakes field, or to sing songs to the God, and to ask
to pray.
Yes, and to have a solace.
Right. Yeah. So maybe he acted, well under such pressure. He had to be calm. And yes, and to land the plane must have taken a lot of strength. Okay. Yes. What about? Can we have too much courage? Sometimes people might, say they are being brave, but they're taking lots of risks. Sometimes it can be with taking risks and courage. But what if people are taking risks and, recklessly taking risks? Is there not a danger of being too brave? Or sometimes, especially I think males in the sort of masculine society are expected to not be afraid of things and to be brave. Even going back to wars, often young men are encouraged to go to war, and if they are not keen to go and fight, they are accused of being cowards. What do you think? Does it have a dark side?
Maybe it becomes difficult if it leads to overestimation. If you just are not aware what the risks are and what the likeliness or likelihood is you might succeed if you are brave and dare doing something. Yeah, this might be the dark side, you mean, maybe.
I guess perhaps because I've been reading some books recently about, I think it was based back in the First World War, some soldiers in the UK, and the young miners. There were some miners in Wales, and even though they were working hard and they were working in a key industry and a dangerous job, even males of a certain age seen on the street were perceived and were heckled. They were accused of being cowards if they did not go off to fight in the war. It's kind of used as propaganda of a country. Luckily, I don't think any of us are in that situation in modern society, but perhaps there might be equivalents that go on.
I think if we talk about courage, there should be a chance of having success. It shouldn't be to run blindly into a disaster. For me, there should be the chance to achieve what the goal was.
Right. Yes.
So I'd like to say about, sorry, Larissa, about the virtue, the previous question. I think that, yes, virtue, it could be the virtue, especially because that one point came to my mind. Example, so we have kind of drivers of courage, is being a mom. Because, yes, being a mom, you would act differently. Just because if it relates to your kids, you would protect, and you.
Right.
It's kind of I think it's a very physical and our natural how to state of our necessity that we have to protect our kids, and so in this way we would be courage. But in the same situation without kids, we maybe would try to would hidden I don't know, so maybe just kids would are drivers for moms because it's our natural necessity.
So you might
So
sort of put yourselves at risk
yes,
for
you
the,
would take a
in
risk.
order to save the
Yes,
children.
to save children, to save kids. I think that it's not only about your own kids. I think it's our being a mom that we could protect even other kids, not only my kids. Just for example, that if I see, for example, if I saw some maybe that kids are in danger, I would save them, even just if they are not my kids. So just because you just feel these connections, and because you being a mom, you know that it's really the most value for us, and so that in this way you will be courageous, but just taking the risks that just jump with the parachute or just so no guys. I'm just I have a chance, I have to choose, as Larissa said, to make a decision just to do or not to do. So in this way I would prefer not to be in danger.
To take unnecessary risks.
Yes, to take, yes.
I think often, courage and bravery are, associated with these things, maybe risking your life or doing some extreme sport. But as Andreas mentioned, often it can exist in the day-to-day. I think in the article he said that as well, maybe doing something difficult. And I think that could tie into what you were saying, Natalia, about if you're a mother or a father, or you feel you have more responsibility, you are prepared. You don't worry so much about either your safety or your embarrassment, being embarrassed. It's you have if you have a greater cause, a bigger reason for doing things.
You even need courage to decide that you want to become parents, that you want to have a child. In German, there's the expression life or courage of life, and it means something like optimism for life. And I think you have to have this attitude that things will fall into place somehow. You know if in advance that there might be situations in which you are exposed to dramatic things before you become parents. You don't know how it will evolve, and you have to have the courage, the trust in life, and that things will become good in the end, or if not, that you will be able to manage things, to cope with downfalls and with things like that.
Yes, perhaps you could take a leap of faith. I don't know, we don't have a courage for life. We do have another, I don't know, in an earlier session we talked about lust. So in English there's an expression to have a lust for life. And that's usually mean that you're just a very vivacious kind of person. But yeah, that's a good point. We might need to take a leap of faith. You mentioned trust. It could be a similar thing. Show some courage. Even before you get to the stage of having children, you might take a lot of courage to build up the courage to ask somebody out. Often relationships are started that way. Somebody might you might be brave to risk the rejection of
Yes.
asking somebody out on a date. Feel free to share your stories with us. Any other comments at this point?
I have a comments about your question. When courage too lot courage?
Okay.
I'm sorry. Can we have too much courage?
Yes, good question.
And
Sorry.
first of all, when I saw this question, can we have too much courage? My first answer was no. But after that, I remember a situation when sometimes in my company, the chief of our department has to speak unpleasant truth for his employees, and when it is necessary, the price of this truth is very high, and he has to have a lot of courage, too much courage. But sometimes his manner, and he becomes maladaptive. He becomes very frustrated, and sometimes he hurts person more than helps when he avoids these unpleasant things. So it's a very controversial question when I'm sorry, we have too much courage. So this is my point of view and my answer.
Okay, so you're saying this boss of yours has too much courage, or he's not handling the situation
Yes,
very
and
well.
sometimes he's over conscious and over too much courageous in himself, and he's very brave, and he can't he can't see the limitations, the limits when he hurts the personality of someone.
Right. So maybe he lacks sensitivity. Does he expect others to be as brave as he is?
Yes, so as he's a boss, he has no possibility to expect from others that he is the same as he, because our positions is not equal. He's a boss, so his level is higher, and he has the possibility to say something unpleasant, and another person can't to answer you at the same way.
Right. So perhaps he's not really, he doesn't need to be so courageous if he can say what he wants, if there is no risk for him. Is that really courage then?
Sometimes I don't know what to do in these cases, and of course I try to accept his position, and it's good for me that I'm not in he's my boss after one middle boss. So so I don't know what will be with me if I was in his direct
His direct authority?
yes, if he was my dominant, I don't know.
Your direct boss, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, yes, thanks for sharing that.
I think courage is not a virtue in sake of courage. I mean, there has to be a meaning and a purpose why somebody should be courageous.
Right. Yes.
And not
just for its own sake.
Yes. This is
yes, good point.
You mean
Otherwise,
to
that might
present
just be. Yes.
You mean just to present yourself also, I'm courageous, just look
Yes.
at me, so that I'm cool, just and this way, yes, is kind of not courageous, courage.
No, that sounds
Yeah.
more like a kind of bravado, but perhaps like
Yes,
a lot of, shit. There's a difference between bravery and bravado.
Just to boast how brave I am or how courageous I am.
Yes. Point.
yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you, do you consider yourself a brave person?
It depends. Yes, it depends on the situation, and so just it's really necessity, of course, for you. Or just can you avoid just maybe the dangerous situation for you? Or yes, I would prefer to avoid, not to be in the risk, not to controverse, not to fight with people, with rude people, for example. Okay, they could tell you so many rude words, and so you could say, oh, okay, so you just go out. But in this way, you just wanna to react, to act, just to say something, to have to give a feedback, also just negative feedback, or just to say something bad. But in this way, stop. I'm not the same. I wouldn't do it. Okay, yes, they are not true that to act in this way, but I think that I could go out and the situation wouldn't be continued, and just nothing happened. Nothing happened to me in a bad way. So sometimes
Yes.
you're getting angry, yes, and just when someone is abusing you and just offending you, so just okay, I will stop, just just count until 5 or until 10, just let stay silent and think, is it worth just to act, giving you feedback? It's difficult, sometimes it's difficult.
Yes. Sometimes people say there might be a fine line between bravery and stupidity. And I guess you have to balance your bravery. There's another good saying. I think it is discretion is the better part of valor. Valor here being similar to bravery, and discretion being to make the right choice, to know when to be brave and not always to jump in and just for the sake of being brave. It's quite an old saying.
So for me, I would say that I'm not a brave person. Just one example came to my mind. I'm just really scared to drive a car in Moscow. So just I'm not a brave person. But anyway, in other situation, I could go to the public and I could go to my boss and just I could go anywhere just to say something. Maybe just that could help other people. And so it depends on the situation.
Okay. Any other comments?
As for me, my husband thinks that I'm a brave person, but as for me, I think that I'm in the middle. I know about me that I'm not a coward because cowards tackle their tails and run to fight the next day. I try to resolve the situation at the beginning. But so as I'm a mother, I try to think about consequences. And now to answer to your question, I think that I want to be strong enough to fight for my beliefs, for my interests, and to stay for my opinions. So
Okay.
I'm in the middle.
Yeah. Yes, good. I think at some point we have to stand up for our beliefs. Another phrase which comes to mind is, if you don't stand for anything, no, if you stand for nothing, you will fall for anything. How about you, Andreas?
Yeah, difficult question. I think it also depends on the situation, and I think I get more and more experience to estimate what is appropriate, what level of courage is necessary to make the daily life, to protect the family, the children, to help them to their rights, and to bring forward situations at the job. As you said, to mention them at the beginning, to try to solve them at the beginning. Sometimes there's some courage necessary to. We say there's an elephant in the room. Don't know if this is a common expression. If there's a problem and everybody knows there's the problem, but nobody dares to speak about the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I made the experience it's easier to solve this problem and to introduce levity again if you talk about this problem and name it by its name.
Yes.
And I don't think I'm a courageous person in the meaning of jumping, bungee jumping or parachutes. Also, this is not my that I want to achieve. I don't care about it, but I try to bring up enough courage for daily life to improve things.
Great. Good points. Anybody else? Anything to
There
add?
was one quotation. I don't remember the exact quotation. Just like there was Seneca said that to live is in the car. To live everyday life is the courage. So sometimes we need the courage to live the life, our own life. So as Andrea said, yes, I agree with you. Just in a way, just to improve your skills, that could help you to live and to in work and in your daily life, in your routine. Yes, it's a good way, it's good skill. But just extreme sports, really, I don't care, because I don't see any. Just maybe some people, yes, they need adrenaline, and so they are just they are so addicted, and so they need it. They need to take a risk, but I don't need it, and I don't know. I can give an example. I really scared about beauty's injections, some kind of just to be better, to improve something in your skin and so on. I'm so scared because I know that it could be you could fail, and so just you could get some problems. And so for me, yes, it's an aging process. Okay, so come on, I wouldn't look the same just in 20 years or 10 years. So just like can put here, just like do something here. But anyway, it's so strange just to look. So you have some kind of young parts of your body, but in general, you look older than. So sometimes it looks strange, and so.
Right. And do you feel there's any pressure or peer pressure or from society to have these
I don't feel pressure, just easy for me. Okay, if I just do some beauty operations or just injections, what should I get? new diploma or just new skills or what else. Just want me just to look faster in the mirror. Come on, guys. I'm just satisfied how I look and who I am. So I try to spend more time on my development, on education, on something else. It's just what should get me more, just more than just to look in the mirror and I don't know and see, oh, I'm so beautiful, So.
Yeah, well, I think last week you shared a story about teaching and, starting to teach English.
Yes.
Which I think is quite a courageous thing to do. You don't need to jump out of an aeroplane to be courageous.
But I like it. I like just to be in the public to explain something, and when you see that your feedback from the students that you can do it, and it's really cool skill. So that I'm so happy that I did it, and so I try to do to be a teacher and to explain and to give positive feedback. Yes, it's a good experience.
Nice. Yes. Anybody else? Andreas? Were you about to speak?
Yeah, this is what was mentioned in the article. Little steps, but you have to go out of your comfort zone once to make this experience, and then I can. It was a great feeling, so it was worthwhile doing this step, and then you can do the next step.
Yes. They had another good quote, I think, from John Wayne, wasn't it, in there, about courage, which is similar to what Mark Twain says, but quite graphic. Courage is being scared to death and saddling up anyway. You can only say that if you're John Wayne.
But I also like the quotation that was in the next article. That was the link. I took words and just read this article and just found some interesting quotes for me. And one was the first one was it's better to live one day as a lion than thousands days as a lamb. And one example just came to me. That's about if you have incurable disease. So because I just found such examples in the literature, and so that's just imagine that you have incurable disease. What it is for you to live actively, just to go out and just to spend more time with your family, with doing sports and doing so, or just your doctor would say, yes, you have to stay at home, just you have to be in calm and just and wait for your death. So I think that I would prefer to live in full life, just even try to do a lot of things that and try not to change my everyday life, but just if you're active and do it, do sports and read books, socialize and do a lot of things, and it would help you not to think about your disease. And so we have also cases like, for example, Chopin, maybe I just say, if I remembered that he had a curable disease, tuberculosis, I don't know how to say, just flu, that's this, but anyway, he tried not to think about that. He practiced, he just played the piano every day, so many hours, and so he could live for 20 years or more. So sometimes, yes, you have a diagnosis, but so it's up to you how much you would live after knowing your diagnosis.
Yes, fair enough. Although this proverb does seem a little reckless, or it might seem reckless to some people. You talked before about not going out for confrontation, but this, I guess it's open to interpretation. And as you say, if you are faced with difficult circumstances, as was Chopin, making the best of them and being brave, it reminds me of a film I saw about a guy who was disabled, and I think it was a certain disease that he also succumbed to, but he continued. He was very brave about it, and he started an organization. I can't remember the name of the film. It might come to me. I'll put it in the link.
Guys, I remember Russian proverb. If you are afraid of wolf, you should not go into the forest. It's a short, but it's funny, and this is our Russian nature.
And in what circumstances would you use that proverb?
If we have a challenging situation in my work when we are not sure as the result, for example, in my field now, sometimes we have to put investigational jobs, research trials, and we never know what we will have the results. We don't know what kinds of patients, what quantity of patients we will receive. We dreamed that 1,000 patients we will treat by our medicine, but we never sure that our doctors will follow us. And as a result, now I'm in the middle of this process. I have only 500 patients, but I was waiting before that it will be about 800. But I made my try. I do it, and my proverb at the beginning was, "If you are afraid of wolf, you shouldn't go into the forest."
Right. So
Now
you went into the forest, and now you are there's a potential wolf out there. Okay, great. Thank you. There's another quote which I found about courage, which I think is quite interesting. The opposite of courage is not cowardice, it is conformity. Even a dead fish can go with the flow, says Jim Hightower. What do you think about that?
As for me, this is we have a lot of conform persons in our society, but this is my point of view, and this is my lifestyle. I want to use the ways not where never go before, and I don't want to make an actions which our society waits from me. I want to follow my own dreams and my own ideals. So I do it, and I'm ready that first of all, at the beginning, my way is very hard way, but I will receive my results, and of course, in my soul, I hope to the best result.
Yes. So you prefer to take the path less trodden, the track which has been less people have gone down.
Yes. For example, it's not a good example, but for example, our society, after you graduate in your school, our society waited from me and from someone else that we will enter to the university and we will receive our diploma one day, and we will work as a doctors, and we will be the best doctors in the world. But unfortunately, I received my good diploma, my excellent marks, and now I work as a medical advisor, because this is a new field for me. This is a well-paid job, and I have to provide my family. I have to earn money. I have to. I think that my family deserves the best living than if I had only if I were in a doctor, because in my country everybody knows the situation with medicine. So this was my choice, and my parents first of all didn't liked my choice, but this was my choice.
But may
Okay,
I
so that
just
must have
add?
been quite a brave move. I think that's definitely an example of showing courage to go against your parents' wishes if you feel that it's right, not just for the sake of it, but because you think it's the right thing to do.
But
Yes,
I would
sorry,
like
Natalia.
to add, yes, just like Clarissa said, just being a doctor is really, you would have really small salary like a teacher that we have. And so it's really sad situation that you cannot be you cannot work as a doctor because you can survive in this situation. If you have a mortgage, for example, you cannot pay the mortgage at all. So just it's really small salary, and so it's such a pity that we have it. And of course, she, as far as I remember, she was back twice, being a doctor, being a therapist, and she felt happiness just being a doctor, being just working by her profession. But anyway, that's a pity. But anyway, just I'm so happy that I have a good friend, good doctor, friend and doctor in one, just a combination. And of course, I ask a lot of questions every time. Larissa, sorry for a lot of questions. Sometimes just not just the. So I'm writing to Larissa just to ask something. It just maybe happened to me, or just with my friends, with my family. So that's really really good position. Just really, I really appreciate. I really respect doctors in general. I think it's really a wonderful profession.
Yeah, it reminds me, talking of this subject, about a story which I read. I read many books on this story called Master and Commander. It was made into a film, but it was also a series of books by Patrick O'Brien. And in the book, there are two main characters, and the two main characters become best friends. One of them is a doctor. He's a surgeon on the ships. It's set in the time of, the big naval battles when the British Empire and the Navy, and the age of sail and cannon. And the other main character is the captain of the ship. And they're both really brave characters, but they show their bravery in different ways. I suppose the captain has the responsibility for all the men, and he's quite aggressive, although he's a good guy. When they come into contact with other ships, the enemy ships, he doesn't shy away from the battle. He puts his own life at risk. And the other one, the doctor, is also very brave. He does whatever he can to save lives at the same time. He's also risking his own life, but he's not as active as trying to kill the other people, the enemy, at the time. So it's interesting to look at these two different types of courage, that you can have to be a soldier, I guess, on the battlefield, or to be a doctor saving people's lives, also risking your own life. But yeah, I was just reminded of that when you were talking. And I thought it related to this topic.
Mhm.
Let's see, what other questions did we have? I think there was another question. Yes, how can we increase our courage? Do we have a fixed amount of courage? How can we summon up this courage or be more brave when we need to be? Is it possible? What do you think?
Practice, maybe just practice and just fix it, and analyze just our actions and the result, the goal, and so on. I think in this way, just we can increase.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we touched it at one point already. If you try something out and get a good result, make a positive experience, we will learn that this to act brave pays off in a way, and yeah, I think we save this experience in our brain and will go the next step next time, or act in the same way. And as Natalia said, to try and it's a circle of learning and experience, and then go the next step.
Yes, perhaps it's similar to confidence in that sense.
To confidence, and to maybe to think about what might the consequences be. What might the worst consequence be if I act like this? What might happen? What might happen? And will it devastate me if plans won't succeed? Or
yes,
is it more? Might the result be more valuable to me than the risk?
Yes, you can do a kind of SWOT analysis with the opportunities and threats. And like you say, you can ask, what is the worst thing that can happen? Look at the consequences. Sometimes when we put things down onto paper or we're clear in our mind, there are less, the monster kind of disappears or it becomes smaller. So we're able to face. Sorry.
Sometimes the worst consequence might be, if you think to the end, is that somebody says no.
Right. Yes.
I won't give it to you, or I can't help you in this way.
Right. Or I won't go out with you on a
Yes.
date. Yes. Coming back to the earlier topic. Yeah, so I just, oh, sorry. Yes, please, you go.
No. I only want to add that what is the terrible thing for me? First of all, I was afraid that criticism and the consequences of it will be terrible for me, very terrific for me. But I read books, I read psychological literature, and the best advice which I received from them was don't compare yourself with others. You should compare yourself with your yesterday and your today. And it's not the same things. And of course, you're moving on, you are forward, and you became better. So,
Yeah, I think that's good advice. It's easier said than done, though. Often it's quite natural or to compare ourselves with others. But I do believe in that advice. I do think it's good advice. So just coming back, a couple more kind of quotes or expressions. One is that fortune favors the brave. I think this is quite an old expression in English. Yes.
yes, and we have in Russian our queen, Catherine Legrand, many years ago said, we don't judge the winners. It's the same, it's like an equivalent of the fortune favors the brave. So.
Right. Yes.
I think most inventions are based on a kind of courage, because if you invent something and you have to invest at first, and you don't know if the plan will come off, but if it does, the invention will might generate some fortune.
Yes.
For the inventor.
Yes, or I saw a biopic about Amundsen, I think his name was, the Norwegian explorer who first reached the South Pole, and how he was having a talk with his brother and just saying, imagine if we got there. They obviously had to, they had to be very brave, and there was a big reward for them at the end, but this kind of fame and fortune, but it was huge risk. There were real risks involved.
Yes, and we have the street named after him, the street by Amundsen in Moscow.
There you go. So he's now a legend.
Yes,
Fortune.
yes, and I think that this is a good example when his actions immortalized his name.
Right. Yes. Good. So maybe with the last question I just said, are there any stories that you know about courage? We've heard quite a few stories. Any other famous stories or tales? One that springs to mind for me was the what's the name of this now? The Wizard of Oz, where the characters follow the yellow brick road. There is a lion, a tin man, and Dorothy. Do you know that story? The Wizard of Oz. I think the lion doesn't have. He's a very cowardly lion. He's lost his heart.
Interesting. As for me, good stories is our life. For example, yesterday evening, I turned on the TV set and I saw that Afghanistan's women, they fight for their rights. And we know the situation. We know that the political situations here like a revolution, and so that the women came out to the streets and they fight for their women's rights, for their human rights. This is for me. This is like a hero. They avoid from abuse, avoid from raging, and so on. So it's good.
Yes, and that reminds me of I think she was a Pakistani woman called Malia who wrote the book I Am Malia. She was the victim of I believe it was a Taliban shooting. She was an attempted assassination of a schoolgirl because she stood up for her rights, and she went to, she stood up for education in that region, in the Pashtun region of Pakistan, just bordering Afghanistan.
Yes, and they want to be listen. Then their voices will be listened all over the world, and they want only a normal life and nothing more.
Yes.
But it relates to your quote of conformity.
Right.
Courage,
yes.
Courage is the opposite is conformity. She wasn't conform. She wanted to have her rights, and it would have been easier to not to stand up and just to
keep her head down.
Yes.
Yes. Definitely. So I think in those cases, she knows that she is certainly a brave, somebody that stands out as being a brave person, not just for a thrill or for the excitement or to be known as a brave person, but to really to stand up for what she believes in for herself and others. So yeah, I think that's, unless anyone has any final thoughts, final comments for today. Oh, sorry, Natalia. Can you start again? You were on.
Yeah, so just my final comments about the wars and kind of protests. But for example, if I think that who is a beneficiary, who is the organizer of these protests, of this war situation? Not people, but they try to win, to do something with our own hands, and that's why I'm against it, because they try to involve ourselves to do it with our own hands, with our own, so we would kill each other, but they will be, it's kind of, they are isolated. I mean, just like leaders of countries, or just who is responsible for it, not people.
Yeah.
But people will, yes, so I'm really against it. I wouldn't protect any kind of protests and war actions, because I don't want a war. I want a peace. I'm not against of other people. I'm not against of I don't know, foreigners and Chinese or American, just Americans. I'm for the peace. I'm not against people, and I don't pretend to be the, I don't know, to be the boss. That's really a difficult question. And so just for me, I'm against of it, because I don't want it to be, to be the part of this situation, to be the part of this conflict.
Okay. I think we might risk going a little off topic here. I know we've been going for just over an hour, so thank you everyone for joining me. I appreciate all your input and your comments.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a nice topic. Thank you.
I hope you found it useful, and I wish you a good weekend.
Yeah, have a nice weekend.
Okay, take care, everybody. Bye-bye now.